Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome to episode 68 of Shrigleytube TV. Thanks for returning. If you're a returning viewer, if you're new to this show, then welcome. I hope you enjoy what you see. First of all, I'd like to start by saying apologies for last week's video, lack of introduction and lack of ending. I was away on holiday with the family, and there was no appropriate time to sneak off and do the starting and ending, so I just left it and I just put the videos together when I was on the loo or something and put them on YouTube for 7:10. So sorry they were late as well. Should have been at 7, but we were stuck on the M56 in traffic, so yeah, didn't get quite back in time. Never mind. Anyway, moving on, I want to say to the people who commented, thank you very much for everyone who said, like, you know, they enjoyed the video, and also to people that said about Jack, you know, taking no notice of him, because he's just purely a wind-up merchant. He's an absolutely good as gold lad. He got out of gold. He's just on the wind-up when he's saying he wants some money back. There's no seriousness in him at all. I did tackle him in this video, you'll see shortly, and said, look, you've upset some of my viewers, and he just, of course, he played to the camera, as you'd expect. So there you go. And finally, I'd like to say, NEC show. I'm doing the classic car show as an auto jumble. It's the 8th of November, 8th, 9th and 10th or something along them days. It's basically the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you do fancy coming over, we'll have we've got some more hoodies done and some polo neck shirts, and I'll have all my treasure out for sale on the tables. So we've got quite a big stand there. So if you want to come over and say hello, and even if you want to be interviewed on Shrigleytube, great, come over, say hello. We'll do whatever we can do. It'll be good to see and catch up with people. So looking forward to that. I'll stop waffling now and get on with this week's show. Hope you enjoy what you see. Have a great week, and I'll see you all next Sunday at 7. Bye for now. Good morning, YouTubers. This is meant to be in the out tray. This is the 1200, but I've come in this morning and it's 1037 millibar, which is basically a really good air pressure day. So what that means is, imagine if all engines are turbocharged with atmospheric pressure today, instead of running like say 10 psi boost, we're running like 13 psi boost, even though we're not running any boost. It's just the air pressure, the weight of the air. So high pressure air day, for those that don't understand it all, basically means we've got a lot of air waiting to go in the engine, so we should see some better numbers out of this today. I've just loaded it up at was it about 4,000. It was mega compared to the other day anyway. So at 4,000 there, now we're seeing nearly 79, 80 foot-pound just from a bit of air pressure, because of course all my figures are what they call uncorrected figures. We just take a gauge on it depending on what sort of day it is, you know, air temperature, air pressure. Let's see what it goes up there. When it comes on now, straight around to, let's say, 97 foot-pound at 7. Beautiful. Right, I'm going to take it off before I wear it out for the customer. I've got to stop playing with this thing. Good morning, YouTubers. Welcome back to Shrigleytube TV. You might recognise this as being Pete's engine back in episode 65, I think it was, a couple of weeks ago. Pete visited us with his engine, and it had the poly head gasket, and it had a lot of contamination in the cylinder liner, the water jacket, where basically he suspected that his metal water pipes on his Jetta G15 had corroded, and then it had dumped all the rust inside the block. So I've steam cleaned the block, checked all the liner heights, they're all correct, given it a quick faceplate, everything looks good. Managed to steam clean it without getting too much contamination into the main block, hopefully. Plugged it all up. And then the cylinder head, you can see the corrosion there where it's been stood for a while with no antifreeze, etc. But it's not in the dangerous area, as in, doesn't concern me, because it just sits between the firing. So it's where the firing sits that really concerns me, and that's all good. I've given it a minimum like 10,000 skim, and we're going to put this together now and then get it on the dyno, and we'll revisit it when it's running and we'll see if it does any horsepower. It's a 1040 with I think that is it an R17 cam and a little 2836 downdraft carb, so we'll see how he gets on. Okay, Pete's engine is 1040, it's now on the dyno. I've warmed him up, done a few cold start cycles. It seems to run very well, to be fair. It doesn't even leak oil, which was quite nice to see, being a scroll engine. So all I've done, I made a mistake in the previous video. It hasn't got an R17 cam. It's a 1040 sport spec engine, so it's got a sport cam in it, which is pleasing because with this particular type of manifold and the single carburetor, these engines, I think they run best with a sport camshaft, because anything wilder, and with the overlap of the cam, the air tries to get confused backwards and forwards, and they just run very, very lumpy. But this runs absolutely beautifully with the sport camshaft. So did the compression ratio, it wasn't high, 10.8 to 1. That was good. I've painted the sump, which is about it. On the bottom end, we checked a few bearings, they were all good. Like he said, it was 30 years ago since it was rebuilt, but it had only done 5 miles in that 30 years. So the main purpose of going in there was just to clear all the crud from in the coolant jacket and put a new head gasket, minimum skim, and we're up and running. So I'll fire it up next, and we'll see if it's got any GGs. I've put 38 degrees in max of advance, which I thought was a good starting point. It'll probably want more, to be fair, but I think that's a safe point. If it does the power I expect it to do, then we'll probably leave it somewhere around there. He is running, much to my alarm, the AccuSpark coil and leads and ignition kit. And yeah, to be fair, can't fault it so far. The advance curve is quite good. It does like about a 25 degree swing from 15 round to 40, or should I say 13 round to 38 degrees for advance. It does it all at about 3,500 RPM. So that's fine for the sport camshaft. I'm happy with all that. And yeah, the carb's absolutely lovely. Sometimes these can be a real pig, but this one's beautiful. It just picks up so sweet. So we'll make sure it's not going lean, and we'll see if we get any power out of it. Right, okay, we're on and running. I'll just give it a little squeeze. Seems quite friendly. Plenty of fuel around, so that's a good start. So we're just on the first choke at the moment. I can see from looking at linkage that I'm not opening the second choke. So on the first choke, up to 3,000 RPM there, it's got about 65 foot-pound. If we go open the second choke, it does increase the torque all the way to 73 at 3,000. So yeah, be a nice drive this. I'll just back the load off. We'll see what it does on the first choke again. So first choke to there. Oh, stop rattling. That's my drive shaft rattling. Right, first choke at 3,500 RPM is doing about 65 foot-pound. We'll just open it. On the second choke, we're seeing 75 at 4. All of his paint's burning off his exhaust system. Probably the first good workout it's had in a long time, this. Apparently he said it's been hanging around for 30 years. Remarkable. So we'll try and get a 5,000 figure. Let's see if we get to 5 on the first choke. It's 5,000, so it's doing about 55 foot-pound, and it's 5.5 that. Bring it down a bit. Oh, the door's knocking. 6,000, about 65 foot-pound. And the silencer looks like it's about to burst into flames, but it's not engine smoke, it's just the silencer's got warm and it's got black paint all over it. Right, I'll just see who's at the door. Okay, the smoke has cleared. I'm back in there now with the 1040 and the Neil Davis racing manifold. It's quite impressed with the torque of this. It's obviously quite a big capacity being 1040. You can see there's a real hot part on the silencer where the paint just literally was burning off real bad. Must be where the gases all collect before going back into the second part of the silencer. So have a look at the plug colour. That was a wide open throttle cut, so I'm quite happy with that. It's not lean or anything, and it picked up beautifully. So yeah, I think with the torque it did, I'm quite happy. And I've got to say, the AccuSpark ignition and distributor all worked absolutely fine. Not a misfire in sight. So I'll give Pete a ring and let him know he can come and get this, and we'll get the next one on the dyno, which is waiting down here. So we'll give that one a run. That's a similar sort of engine, but with the banana type manifold. I think it's a 998, and it's got a few running issues, I believe. So we're going to fire it up and see how it goes. We've got a visitor at the workshop. It's Neil Neil's got a Hillman, but he's just turned up in this lovely, pretty Elan, and it's an Elan Sprint as well. Absolutely cracking condition. This a new toy, Neil?
It is today.
Today. And you come straight to see me?
I have.
It's absolutely stunning, that, mate. Beautiful. Look at that cockpit. Did you say it had electric windows a minute ago?
It is. Yes. 1971.
Electric windows.
And electric windows.
That is marvellous. Such a pretty car, and they go well as well, don't they? Has it got Ford twin cam running gear in it?
It has. Look at this here.
Look at that window. Look at that. Faster than the windows on my Audi. That must have a decent earth on it. Pop bonnet, pal. Oh, look at that. Even pops up on the spring. Beautiful. Twin 40mm Webbers. DCO OE31s as well, the correct carbs. All right.
Start it.
Yeah, give us a fire up, Neil, please. Do a little blip. Can you give us a blip? Let's have a little exhaust note. Got some oil pressure as well. Lovely that. Knock it off, please, pal. What's your plans? A bit of next summer fun, is it?
Absolutely, yes.
Good for you, mate.
Enjoy the sunshine.
Enjoy the sunshine. Does a wife like cars like this?
Yes.
Good. That's good, because you can enjoy it together then. That is stunning, mate. I absolutely love it. It's the best. My description of this car would be, it's pretty like an MGB, but it's got decent running gear in it, you know. Proper. Is it 5-speed or 4?
4 speed.
4 speed.
Yeah.
Proper engine. Lovely job, that. Big valve as well. I think you're on the channel there, mate.
Thank you.
Well done. Look at that beautiful little car. Very pretty. Cheers, Neil. Take care. Okay, good morning, YouTubers. We have another little imp engine on the dyno. This one belongs to a chap called Bob. Been building engines and cars for a long time, this chap. So he's built this engine and said, would you just run it up on the dyno, make sure it's right for me? So I said, of course I will, no problem. So it's got a little 2836 like the last engine we had on earlier, but instead of having the log type manifold, this one's got the banana shaped ones. This one is a conversion. Someone's nicked the R off it. And tuning center limited one, and it's got a lovely Will Parry exhaust manifold exhaust there. Look at that, beautiful. And then it's got a Profusion silencer. Now I'm quite interested in this because these aren't expensive, and I can see from the design of it, I suspect it's got like an S-bend in it, so it should be good at silencing the imp. With a straight through silencer on an imp, it's quite hard to make them quiet. They get quite boomy, and a lot of my customers now are saying, look, I want to use this car on the road, and the wife doesn't like it because it makes her ears ring. So this could be an option for people to run a quieter exhaust. Anyway, it's he tells me that it's a 998. I don't know an awful lot about it. I've run it up. He supplied it with a new AccuSpark Dizzy, so I thought we'll give it a try. To be fair to it, I've run it up, so 20-degree swing, so we're starting at roughly 20 and finishing at 40 degrees of advance. All that seems good. It runs sweet. It's a little bit tickety on the cam. Not sure what cam's in it, but I'm not concerned about that. It's something you can deal with. Just chase the clearances up on it at a later date. I'm just purely here to check the function of the engine, and we'll see if it's got any power. And obviously, if the carb needs rejetting. I think it's a little bit lean. It has a little bit of a flat spot just off idle, so it might go up on the slow running side. But we'll put it under some load now, and we'll see how we get on. Okay, just running Bob's engine now. Not rang him yet. I thought we'd get a set of figures out of it first. But it's must be in quite a high thermostat. I suspect it's like an 82 or an 88 because it's well up there in the mid 80s water temperature. So it's actually very good. It's not a bad air day today, but it's got more torque than I thought it'd have. So it's all good. I think possibly down to the fact it's got a nice tuned length exhaust manifold by Mr. Parry. But if I wind it up down here, I think it must be a 1040 at 4,075 foot-pound. I £4 at 6, which is probably not bad. In fact, we've got the calculator here. 68 multiplied by 6500. Oh no, it was 6,000, wasn't it? 68. 6, 1, 2, 3, divided by 5, 6, 5, 2. Ooh, 77 horsepower. Right, I'll give Bob a ring and find out the spec and I'll report back. Right, okay, just finished running the engine and I've rang Bob to ask him the spec, and he did confirm that it's a 1040, a new one that he's built with like a sports spec head and an R17 cam. So that's why it held on so well, because obviously the sport cam's got 310 lift and this has got 360 tower lift, so and a bit more duration, excuse me. So that's also why on idle it's a little bit, which is just the reversion from the cam, you know, the air going backwards and forwards in the manifold, because it's all to one carburetor rather than each cylinder having its own personal choke like on a pair of twin 40s. So a bit lumpy and idle, but he's not bothered about that. I said I can't fault it. It's got oil pressure, it does the power, everything seems good. It's not even got an oil leak, which is also good. I said the only thing I'll possibly pull it on is when you accelerate, it just has a little hesitation, and I think it's just a little bit lean on the idle circuit. So what I'll do is I'll put a bigger slow running jet in it, and that will fix that, and then you can have the engine back and put it in his car. Right, okay, that was the noise test there with the Profusion silencer. Unfortunately, it's a bit noisier than I thought it might have been. It's basically a straight through silencer. If I shine that there, you'll see the silencer basically does that. So if I get the torch on the other end and the entrance end here, you can just about see. So it's straight through, great for racing, but a bit noisy. So Will, can you devise the silencer please? Because the Imp Club demands a silencer that's not noisy. Just draining the oil out here. So we'll look at it. Looks pretty good. Yeah, so cool. We'll get this off and get it dropped off with Bob. Okay, a little update on the Audi 20 valve 5-cylinder turbo engine. Lovely engine. I changed the air mass, made no difference. I changed it again. Guess what? Made no difference. So we still got a misfire. Now, I've been doing a bit of reading, and I'm pretty convinced the coils are okay. I'm pretty convinced the air mass is okay, but everything works off fuel pressure. So just to give you the basics, we've got a high pressure fuel rail here, 60 psi. Oh, sorry, no, I don't know what the pump's capable of pumping, maybe 80 psi to the fuel rail. And then we've got what we call a pressure regulator. That says 4 bar, so that's 60 psi. So basically the fuel pressure comes into the rail, and then there's like a little piston in there with a spring behind it and a diaphragm, and it blows off at 60 psi. And then the fuel goes back to the tank, what's not needed. And obviously, as the engine works harder and harder, the injectors are open more and more. So a lot more fuel goes off there, so less gets blown off back to the tank in theory. But what I think is happening is, I think on idle, I've put a pressure reg on this. I've just rigged it up so I can see it when I'm driving. So I'm seeing 4 bar on idle, which is 60 psi, which is fine. But this is what they call a rising rate pressure regulator. So if you see this little pipe here, this little pipe goes to a diaphragm in here. And what happens is, with the turbocharged engine, as the pressure increases in the inlet manifold above ambient, so this engine, I know it runs 1 bar, which is just under 15 psi of air pressure at full boost. The pressure goes to this side of the diaphragm and acts with the spring to increase the pressure. So when I come on boost with this now, what we should see is the pressure reg raised from 4, the pressure in the fuel rail raised from 4 bar to 5 bar. And I suspect what's happening is the fuel pump can't keep up. So when we come on boost and the injectors use lots more fuel, the fuel pressure drops down. and we lose fuel pressure, and then obviously it's going lean, and that's causing it to hold back and have a misfire. It's not a slouch, don't get me wrong, it will pick its heels up, but it just isn't right. You know, I've been in one of these when they're right and they're a fast car, and this is not a fast car by any stretch. So we'll go for a test drive now, and we'll see what happens when we put it under load and see if that fuel pressure rises to 5 bar. Okay, YouTubers, we're just doing the fuel pressure test. So this is the rising rate fuel pressure regulator. So as I load the engine up now with the brakes on, obviously the camera's not in my hands, it's in the wedged in the windscreen, so it's safe to drive. I'm going to load it up in second gear to get it to boost. Hopefully we'll see it get to 5 psi, 5 bar. So yeah, so that's correct. So there's no problem with the fuel pump system. So what we're seeing is the regulator works at 4 bar, and then when the inlet manifold pressure raises to 1 bar, which is 15 psi just about, obviously the fuel pressure goes up as well to match it. So everything is working present and correct there. Okay, YouTubers, back to the drawing board for me. So we know it's not the air mass, we know it's not the coils because we've checked all the resistance on those. I've just done the fuel pressure test and absolutely no problem there. The fuel pressure is rising as the boost pressure increases in the manifold. So I have to go back to my base instincts, which basically tells me that when it's coming on boost, I think it's running out of fuel. I think it's going lean. So I spoke to the Oracle, Bob Jones, and he said, why don't you whiz the injectors out, run them down to my place, we'll put them in the machine, and we'll see if one of them is squirting less than the rest. So I thought, brilliant. It's just another tick to sort of count down the possible endless amount of things that could be failing on an old car like this, but it's one thing that I think is definitely worth checking. So I'll whiz the injectors out now, and then I'll get back to you when we get to Bob's. Right, I've arrived at Bob's. So we're having a brew, Paul, and I've put the can I have one, please? Injectors on the test machine. Bob's just helped me set it up, and then he's run off next door because he probably can't hear it, but he's dynoing in the background. So I assume this is the pressure. This little brains loom replicates the ignition pulses, does a bit of a cycle, and the fuel clips in these like burettes. And then hopefully we've already, because there was 5 but only 4 places, because obviously a 5-cylinder engine, I've already done 4, and I've got to be honest, it wasn't really a problem. It's just quite disappointing, to be honest with you, but it is what it is. Let's just see what happens. I'll press the button here and see if it does the same thing again. They appear to be filling up equally. The rate starts to increase now. That's like a fast idle. That one's definitely a bit lazy, isn't it? I think we've got a lazy one there. See, I wonder if that'd be enough to make it go lean. Let's see what it's like at the end. So these ones are just over 40. That one's about 39. Right, I think we'll run this through a few more times, and then we'll try and catch Bob on the dyno and see what he thinks. Right, I've done 3 cycles now, and we have actually got a difference. I'm not sure how important that is, but obviously that's at 110 and that's at like 115, so that's 5 cc's of difference. That's above 110 and that one's at 110, so quite a difference there. Might be worth speaking to Bob to find out if that's enough, but I can hear him making noises next door. Maybe what we should do is have a wander around. This is my new unit here. Don't have the new roof put on it yet, but I can hear the dyno. So those are the dynos. We'll try and get a word with Bob.
I'm coming over.
Paul, that's a nice hoodie you've got on there, mate.
Yep.
Oh, how have you got that ahead of the NEC show?
I'm overwhelmed, mate. It's the only thing I'll probably ever get off you for nothing.
I was trying to be nice.
I'll take it in good faith.
Mate, I've just been looking at Bob's spaceship. Look at this. Look at all this. It's a bit more complicated than my dyno, this, Bob.
I don't think you want one of this, son.
Well, just get it that way.
Crikey. I've only got one switch for a fuel pump.
Well, you're still dangerous with one switch.
Right. Well, thanks for that. I've just run those injectors again, and as I've run them 3 times, there's like a 5cc difference. I think that's a problem with my engine.
No.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say yes.
No, very much.
Is it any good, Bob?
No. It will be.
It will be. Cool. Okay, YouTubers. Rumour has it that Bergerac's been buying treasure. Oh my lord, what is that? So I thought we'd go and catch him because he's been avoiding me. A banger, Jack, for banger racing. One of your bangers, Jack.
No, I wouldn't ask them at this junk to put on the banger track.
How dare
Oh, sorry, Richard. I didn't realise you were there.
dare you?
It's missing 2 cylinders, mate. and where's the mechanical fuel injection?
You don't need either of those things, do you? Lovely, isn't it?
Mate,
How nice the chassis legs are, everything. Inner wings and mint.
it's not rotten, I'll give you that. I say,
Sales pitch for you.
no, got to say, Berge, it's absolutely mint, isn't it?
26,000 miles from new.
What is it?
Family owned. It's a 230/4.
Have you got the wheel trims?
Have you sold it already?
Not quite yet, no. But
Oh my,
lovely, isn't it?
it's
Last MOT'd in 1989.
it's mega clean, isn't it? Look how clean it is. That's been a dehumidified garage, that has. Crikey. 230.4. Beautiful, that
The
Berge.
only thing is it's been parked in a garage with a bit of water dripping on the roof. It's
Oh,
actually not that bad. It's all solid.
yeah. None of it's gone inside.
No. Totally dry. Look at the headlining.
Oh, mate, she's an absolute beaut.
But
See-
everything, you know, all the door bottoms and everything untouched.
Yeah, look at the pillars.
Incredibly clean.
See, my mate Nick's got one of these, but a cabriolet version, and it's got mechanical fuel injection and 6 cylinders. Now, if it had that, I could get excited.
The return edge on the boot lid and everything. It's just wonderful, isn't it? It's so rare to see such an original car. It's just not been messed around with.
That is
It will
absolutely.
make a lovely car.
It is remarkably good condition, that Berge. You swam the channel there, pal.
Yeah.
I'll come over later with
Yeah, you
some
can have a
petrol
top
and a battery pack, and we'll get it fired up. Make sure you drain the oil first. Got to be honest, I was a bit intrigued by the Mercedes, so I thought I'll wander down and see if I can catch Bergerac. Oh, he's got Jack in there as well. Oh my lord, what is going on here?
Oh,
What have you caught you in the act of?
hello. I'm just lubricating the bores.
Oh, that's
Just lubricating the bores with a bit of juice.
I normally spit on it, and that normally works, Richard.
No.
Oh, different.
Wait.
Oh, right. Okay.
Wait, no. Jack, now, just in case you're aware, there's been some concerns about how nasty you are to me on Shrigleytube. I just wanted to, reassure the viewers that you are actually a really nice guy, and we just have a bit of banter, yeah?
I feel like you're telling them a lie, and basically, I'm not a nice person when I get ripped off for engines that don't work.
To get ripped off, you've got to pay.
Oh, right. Okay, all right, then that's fair enough.
Right. What I was going to say was, I was just looking at his engine after they'd done the first video. Bergerac, I actually believe that this engine has a high pressure oil feed to the water pump. How amazing is that? That is absolutely
Quality engineering.
that is stunning. That's made to last. That's not got any plastic on it. Look at that, and it looks like it's got a cast iron housing with an aluminium backing as well. Brilliant.
But you look at the rest of it and look at those chassis legs. It's like a new car. Look down there.
You have really swum a You should keep this, Berge.
I know. I'm really tempted. I've got to say.
You could put it on LPG like the rest of your fleet, but
Can't get LPG anywhere anymore.
no, it's a nightmare for LPG owners, isn't it? It's more expensive than 4-star. And a Stromberg, look at that, 1.7 inch and 3/4. That is awesome, mate. Yeah. Well, I'm really looking forward to the next episode where we get it running. And yeah, what a machine.
It deserves to live again. It was last MOT'd in 1989, so 35 years off.
Yeah, flipping heck. Wow. I was going to say I was thinking before when I'd last seen one, and Goldfinger, when they have the police chase, I'm sure they've got these in black.
Maybe, yeah.
4-door with the police in them. Yeah. And they go down the side of that mountain in them.
Look at this. Look at the D posts. You know where they usually rock.
Follow that car.
Like a brand new car.
That is
Just brand
absolutely
new.
stunning. I was really pleased to see the headline hadn't suffered with that. You know, that water that had come. It's going to make you an
Got away with it.
absolute pearl of this, mate. Brilliant. Brilliant. What's that? Oh, you like your TR7s, don't you?
Hilarious.
Yeah. Brilliant, that. Well done. Good morning, YouTubers. It's Saturday morning. I'm doing a bit of jig work. So, good day today. Very excited. We're going to Bradford at 3 o'clock to watch the Formula One stock cars. It's one of their penultimate shootout rounds. So, we're going there to watch them. I'll try and get a bit of footage for those that are interested. In the meantime, I've been making a jig. Long story short, when I bought them 930 engines, they came with starter motors. So, I want to utilise these starters. They're a cracking starter, brand new. I can sell them quite cheaply, like for £100. They fit the imp perfectly once they've been modified. So this index, this diameter here, let me just, I've only got one hand because I'm holding the camera. This index diameter here is the same as a standard imp. However, and the nose length and everything else is the same. However, the holes are in a different place. So what I've done is I've made a jig to modify these starters. So obviously, there's a massive advantage using a pre-engaged starter because it engages and then it turns. It doesn't flick out like on what we call like an inertia starter, where the acceleration of the motor makes the gear slide up a bendix and throws it into mesh with a big crash. That's why we always end up with chipped teeth on the flywheel on a standard imp starter. So this will engage the solenoid. Not going to get into a starter motor waffle, but it's really simple how it works. The solenoid here throws a fork out, which actually physically pulls this. I can't do it, but it does move on a spring into mesh, and only when it's fully in mesh with the ring gear on the flywheel does the motor part get the power. So it's called pre-engaged. In other words, it engages and then it turns. Ideal if you've got like twin 40s or something, because what happens is if the engine tries to catch but doesn't start, when you've got a Bendix type starter, inertia one, it flicks it out, whereas this will stay engaged until the engine started. Anyway, getting carried away. So you can see the holes are in the wrong place. So this is one that I have modified. I've re-drilled the holes and I've done it with this jig. So this jig here, what you'll see is this is the end of an imp engine that's been chopped off. And then what I've done is, because when you try and drill through, you can use these to, to re-drill the starter. But what happens is the side of the drill, this part of the drill, it wears the aluminium in no time, and you end up with the hole wandering off center. So what I did was, I had a look through my gudgeon pin box. That's the pin inside the little end, on an engine. And I found a pin that had a 3/8 hole through the middle of it. And that was ideal, because all I had to do was chop it in half and then I machined this jig, and I basically pressed them in to the jig, this gudgeon pin with the 3/8 hole, which is what my drill is. You can see, and what that allows me to do is to repeatedly use this jig without the danger of the hole getting any bigger, because for those of you that aren't aware, a gudgeon pin is like made out of really high carbon steel. It's actually I think the case hardened. They're like tool steel basically, so they're really high carbon steel, and most of them I think these are nitrided because they are absolutely glass hard. You can't turn them, you know, they're really solid, so they're really tough. So the fact it's hard means that I can repeatedly use this jig to drill as many starter motors as I want and turn them into suitable starter motors. And as a trade-off as well, just is what really impressed me. I only thought of this after the event. This is a Talbot Sunbeam block that I'm doing for a racer to 1040. And what happens is, this is one of the new blocks from the new ones I've bought. It's never run because we try and build all the racers out of brand new parts, so we're dealing with, you know, no corrosion, no pull threads, everything's perfect. But obviously you can see this is designed to have that starter, but the holes are in the wrong place. So what I did was put some 3/8 UNC bolts in the holes there, bolted that on there, and then I just drilled through, and that gave me because obviously this is quite close clearance on the drill. So I need a third hand, so when the drill goes through there it can't wander, because let's just get it, it's literally size on size, so it goes through and we end up with a dead nice straight hole all the way through the casting. Because quite often when people try and drill these freehand using an imp gearbox, they end up with it all breaking through and wandering, and a right old mess. So we'll do one together now, and I'll just show you exactly what I'm talking about. Right, okay, I put the jig in the vise just to hold it, and I did actually clean the bench just in case Kip from Down Under was watching tonight. I didn't want him to send me any abusive messages saying your workshop's an absolute tip, which you'd be quite right in saying. So there's just a couple of M8 bolts that I just drilled and tapped dead rough. I just buzz gun them on because the starter motor is located in the index on that raised edge there, so I know it's in the right place. If we look through the hole, you can see just how much has to come out of each hole, and that's another reason why the hardened steel is so good, because it just doesn't allow the drill to wander. So I've been using WD-40 now. I know that isn't the correct lubricant for drilling, but when you're drilling alley, it's just more, there's not much heat involved. It's so soft, it's like chocolate. It's more about keeping the swarf clearing. So I'll drill this now. I think the battery's gone flat. Right, I've just fast tracked you through all that. So we now have 2 holes all the way through our starter motor, and this is one that I've already done. So when we offer this up, this is an imp block. This isn't a Talbot Sunbeam block, so it's an 875 opposed to a 930. So now if we look, we just drop a 3/8 bolt in there, and on this side same thing. This is our little test, so that's perfect. That put a couple of nice washers on there. So if you do fancy one of these starter motors, just to do my sales pitch, I will be at the NEC from the 8th to the 11th of November, I think it is, that weekend anyway, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you want a starter motor, £100 all in, and you've got yourself a nice starter, and it's a genuine item. It's not like a reconditioned thing. It should last you a good while on the car. Right, we'll go and test them now. That's the final stage, and then they're ready to go in the box. Right, okay, I've got it on test. Put my rag down so that it doesn't earth out on the bench, because the bench is steel now. So that's the earth. That's the 12-volt feed. On your imp, you'll have a red and white wire that goes onto the starter solenoid. You have to extend that down to the starter motor to make it excite. So all we need to do is, if you look, I've just put that on there. That's the exciter wire. I'm just going to give that 12 volts by touching it on here. And what I was saying before about the pre-engage, you can see the starter, it flies out into engagement and then turns the engine over. So that's that one tested, ready to go to the show. Right, okay, small update on the Cosworth engine of Tim's. This is all the parts that came from inside of it. Obviously, you remember last week we took the valve collet apart and the spring had all broken up. So I rang Tim and said, look, you know, there's a potential there's parts of the spring in the engine can take it apart. The head, which is down here, looks absolutely grand. No problem with the head at all. I've said to Tim, what do you want to do? And he's basically said, can I bring the engine over to you and we'll give it a bit of a refresh. So he's going to drive over it in the back of his van. I'll get the head rebuilt with the new springs. We've ordered valve springs and valve caps and cam followers and valves. The guides were fine, and we're going to refresh the head for him, ready for when the engine block arrives. And then he's bought some new pistons and some bearings and some big end bolts, etc. And we're going to put all these new parts in it, build it back up for him as a one lump so he can go and put it in the car ready to do his Bovington rally in December. Now, there is a bit of not a fracas, but I do understand what's gone wrong with this now, and it's not good really. But the engine's been around a long time, and I can't believe it left the people that built it like this. It must have had someone in between give it a bit of a refresh, I think, and not fully understood what they were doing, because what they'd done, I brought this in from home. This is a standard Sierra Cosworth valve cap, and you can see, if we zoom in, it's got one index for the spring to sit, and then it has a radius here, and this is the valve cap off the engine where the valve had all got out of sync because the spring had broke. And you can see it was running a double valve spring. Now, these springs need to run with a cap designed to cope with them, because what's happened is the spring has just been sat wobbling around on that radius there. So you can see, if I put it alongside that one, you can see how shiny it is. See that edge in there? And that's put pressure on the inside edge of the spring and then caused it to fail. And that's why the inner spring failed prematurely, and then it got caught up in the outer spring, made the outer spring fail. Because we did hear a misfire in the morning, and I put it down to water because he'd moved the coil pack to the bulkhead. We had a top end misfire, so I suspect it was failing for quite a long time. He was just so lucky that the collets didn't drop out of the cap and the valve drop into the engine, because it would have destroyed the engine. So I just try and explain what I'm talking about. This is one of my Hillman titanium valve caps that I use, and this is the raised spring that I use, and I get it all made so that as you can see, it's a real tight fit, so that the spring is in control. Because they do, I don't know if you've ever seen the camera footage where they have them doing 10,000 RPM. A valve spring, it gets oscillating and does all sorts of funny things. So both those springs index on the top of that cap, so it's all absolutely perfect. And I did think about using this on Tim's engine, but as Kent do list a spring and cap kit for it, I thought we'll just go with the proven kit. We'll do all the fitted lengths when we get the springs, and make sure that everything's got room with the cam lift that we've got available for it. But yeah, I think looking at how the rest of the engine is, I think this is just an oversight on someone's possibly come along and gone, oh, I'll give you a refresh, because the engine's been around for years and years, and they've just not fully understood what they were doing. But anyway, no problem, no harm done. So we'll get this put back together, and then we'll look forward to Tim coming over, and we'll do a video with Tim, and he's quite entertaining. We'll get the engine put together and ready to go back in the car. Congratulations, YouTubers. You've made it to the end of Shrigleytube without falling asleep. I hope you're still all awake and not face down in your popcorn. I'll hope you have a great week, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next Sunday at 7. Bye for now.